Most people don't even dream about winning the lottery, and it turns out that might be a good thing, as it looks like most of the people who have won didn't know what to do with their money and ultimately ended up spending all of it, and then some. Today we're going to be taking a look at 10 different lottery winners who ended up losing everything they had. Be sure to stick around to hear about a man who was nearly killed for his winnings. And hey, if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and slam that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our amazing uploads. Number 10. Lara and Roger Griffiths. Roger and Lara Griffiths were a British couple who had managed to win the $2.19 million jackpot. The couple immediately got a taste for the high life, and they loved every bit of it. The couple bought a fleet of exotic and luxury cars and an expensive house to match them. They began to wear designer clothes and thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. They even transferred their daughter to an expensive private school. Roger spent tens of thousands of dollars hoping to pursue his dream of becoming a rock star. He used the money to buy equipment and studio time for his band, and he even funded an album release for them. Meanwhile, Lara had spent hundreds of thousands of their winnings on a salon, and after losing all of their money, the two were forced to sell most of their luxuries. Lara had to work in the salon that she once owned, and the pair's marriage ultimately ended in divorce. When all was said and done, they had less than $10 to their name. Number 9. Mickey Carroll. This young adult had just turned 19 when he hit the British jackpot. Mickey Carroll had won equal to $11.8 million at the time. Most of his money was spent on partying, and the rest went toward nice cars, jewelry, and other lavish items that Mickey thought he needed. After blowing through all of his money, Mickey has been working at a slaughterhouse that earns him a couple of $100 per week. Nothing compared to the life he was living when after winning almost $12 million. Number 8. Callie Rogers. I couldn't imagine winning the lottery, let alone winning it at the age of 16. Callie Rogers was a teen from England who managed to win $2.3 million from the British lottery in 2003. And being so young, she didn't have a good grasp on what to do with her money, and unfortunately, she had other vices pulling at her. Callie claims to have blown through a lot of her money due to her drug addiction. She said she likely spent around $300,000 on cocaine after winning the money. By 2013, she was left with only $2,500 in her bank account, and that's after getting plastic surgery and partying as hard as she could. Number 7. Evelyn Adams. Have you ever heard of a person winning the multi-million-dollar lottery twice? Evelyn Adams had the pleasure of doing so when she won the lottery in 1985 and then again the following year. In total, her winnings added up to about $5.4 million. However, despite winning a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity twice in her life, she still managed to lose it all. She gave away a lot of her money to her family, but spent the rest on gambling and a handful of bad investments. Forbes reported that Evelyn Adams moved into a trailer after spending her $5.4 million. Number 6. William Post. William Post, better known as Bud by his friends, won a huge amount of money when he purchased a winning lottery ticket in Pennsylvania in 1988. At the time, he won a total of $16.2 million. However, the money didn't last him as long as you would think. And despite living a lavish lifestyle, William Post died in 2006 without a penny to his name. In fact, only a year after winning, he was already $1 million in debt. He also got sued for a portion of his winnings by his ex-girlfriend, and if that wasn't bad enough, his own brother allegedly hired a hitman to take William out. Despite that, he managed to live a life of nice houses, fast boats, and luxury cars before running through all of his winnings. Number 5. Lisa Arcand. When some people win the lottery, they choose to spend the money on luxurious ventures, while others choose to invest or start a business. Sadly, sometimes both options end up yielding the same poor results. Lisa Arcand won $1 million from a lottery ticket that she picked up in 2004, and she spent the bulk of her money on 2 pieces of property. She purchased a fully furnished house for her and her family and a restaurant near her hometown. The restaurant didn't do well, though, and she was forced to close and declared broke less than 4 years after winning the life-changing amount of money. Number 4. Gerald Muskegon. Gerald Muskegon purchased a lottery ticket for around $2 that ended up winning $10 million from the Canadian lottery. And even though he made the sound investment of buying a house for himself, he flaunted all of his money around by having large-scale parties and events almost every night. He won the money in 2011, and after a few short years, he'd blown through it all. Shortly before his death, he had lost all his winnings and was working on a farm to make ends meet. Sadly, he would end up hanging himself in his family's garage. Number 3. Janite Lee. While working at a wig shop in 1993, Janite Lee had a major win after picking up a lottery ticket. For the Illinois lottery, she'd won $18 million. However, less than 10 years later, she would file for bankruptcy with almost $2.5 million worth of debt. You see, when Janet got her first payment from the lottery, she did the noble thing. She donated to a bunch of political and educational charities. The sad thing is that this cost her almost everything she had. Now, when you win such a large amount of money from the lottery, you get the option to receive annual payments instead of the full amount, and after a few years, Janet opted out of that choice, meaning she was given a lump sum of the money that she'd won. This was according to Time, but her debt was far too out of control, and it ultimately overtook her by 2001. Number 2. Keith Gough. Keith Gough won somewhere near $11 million after purchasing a lottery ticket, and apparently he knew exactly what he'd do if he ever got his hands on that much money. After winning, he immediately threw off the simple life that he was living and moved on to a life of luxury vehicles and racehorses. In the 2 years since he won the lottery, Keith and his wife split up. They'd been happily married for nearly 25 years. That was only the beginning of his path to losing everything he had. Shortly after losing his wife, Keith was conned out of $1 million when he was tricked by a couple of con men who saw him as an easy mark. By the year 2010, 5 years after buying the winning lottery ticket, Keith Gough was 58 years old and didn't have a penny to his name. His life ended as he drank himself to death that year. Number 1. Jeffrey Dampier. Back in 1996, Jeffrey Dampier won the lottery in Illinois. His winnings were a total of $20 million. He made 2 big moves with his money, the first of which was an investment. He invested a chunk of his winnings into a popcorn company. Whether that was a successful venture is unclear, but either way, Jeffrey clearly wasn't greedy or selfish, as the rest of his money was spent on his friends and family, who he reportedly gave millions of dollars. His downfall came when he decided to have an affair with his wife's sister Victoria. After giving her money, Dampier attempted to cut off the affair and stop paying her off. But this wasn't on Victoria's agenda. You see, she, with the help of her boyfriend, lured Jeffrey Dampier into a meeting with them before the two took his life. He literally lost it all. His death was reported by the Oxygen Network in 2016. Holy cow, could you imagine winning that much money just to lose it all? What would you do if you were ever in the position to win millions of dollars from the lottery? Be sure to let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our uploads.